Sometimes the biggest stories are hidden in the most ordinary places. We're about to unravel one that starts with a simple piece of clothing and ends with a global fight for justice, all thanks to a tiny, secret message. Just listen to this. I made this item you're going to buy, but I didn't get paid for it. That's not a line from a movie. That is a real note found by shoppers tucked into clothes at a Zara store in Istanbul. It was a desperate cry for help from the very people who made them. Okay, so really think about this for a second. You're out shopping, you pick up a new cardigan, and you find that note inside. It's a direct message from someone you'll never meet, reaching out from halfway across the world. What do? Well, the thing is, this wasn't just some thought experiment. It's exactly what happened to a 21-year-old student in Istanbul named Zeynep. She found one of those notes, and her discovery kicked off a story that would send ripples across the entire globe. It turns out that one tag was part of something so much bigger. It was like a coordinated message in a bottle, sent out by 155 workers from a factory called Bravo Textile. They'd been making clothes for some of the biggest fashion brands you can think of, until their boss just vanished, taking all their paychecks with them. So, you have to ask, right? What pushes workers to take a risk like this, to get that creative and that desperate? Well, to really understand it, you have to look at their long, and I mean long, and frustrating wait for someone to do the right thing. Okay, check out this timeline. It really paints a picture. Summer of 2016, the owner just disappears, along with 3 months of pay and any severance the workers were owed. And for 16 months, 16, they waited. That's over a year and a half of trying to negotiate, of getting nowhere, before they finally decided, okay, we have to do something else. So let's just quickly break down who's who in this story, because it really shows you how modern fashion works. At the bottom, you've got the workers. Then there's their direct employer, the supplier, Bravo Textile. And then, way at the top, you have these massive global brands. Inditex, which owns Zara, plus Mango and Next, who were paying this factory to make their stuff. And this is really the heart of the whole thing. On one hand, you have the official code of conduct from a giant like Inditex with this very promise: wages should always be enough to meet basic needs. But on the other hand, you've got the cold, hard reality for the 155 people who were actually sewing their clothes. 3 months of work completely unpaid. So, after 16 months of getting absolutely nowhere, the workers knew they had to change the game. They decided to just bypass the whole corporate ladder and take their story straight to the one group of people that the big brands could not afford to ignore: you and me, the customers. And their plan was brilliant, honestly. It was this multi-layered approach. First, the physical notes in the stores, something you could actually hold in your hand. So powerful. Second, an online petition to get people all over the world to show their support. And third, they hit social media hard, with videos and a hashtag that was about to go viral. So did all this effort pay off? Well, just look at this number. Over 300,000 people signed their Change.org petition. That's not just a number. That's over 300,000 people from all over the world saying, hey, we hear you, and this isn't right. And the Twitter campaign? Wow, it just blew up. People weren't just signing something quietly. They were tweeting directly at the brands. Things like, pay the people who make your clothes, and not shopping at your stores anymore. You see, this wasn't some backroom negotiation anymore. It was a full-blown public relations nightmare for these companies. So what happens when a local labor dispute like this suddenly goes viral and gets global attention? Well, the entire power dynamic shifts. Those little handwritten tags had started a ripple that was very quickly turning into a massive wave. Pretty soon, you had major news outlets like the BBC and Reuters covering the story. And with hundreds of thousands of people demanding action online, the brands were totally boxed in. Their name was now tied directly to this story, and staying quiet just wasn't going to fly anymore. So, the big question: what was the final outcome? The workers, of course, wanted everything they were owed. The brand's first offer was, well, pretty weak, only about a quarter of the total. But because of all that public pressure, they eventually created a fund, and the workers got a partial payment. Now, it wasn't a perfect victory, let's be clear, but it was money they absolutely never would have seen without this campaign. And this is a really key point. A Reuters report on the story called it just the tip of the iceberg. This incredible story, as wild as it is, wasn't some one-off thing. It was just one visible symptom of a much, much bigger problem hiding deep inside the global fashion industry. And that bigger problem is exactly why this story is so important. It forces us to talk about a word we hear all the time: sustainability. What does it actually mean for a brand? And spoiler alert, it means a whole lot more than just using recycled fabrics.
So, when we talk about sustainable branding, it's really this three-part idea. It's a balance. Yeah, the environment is a huge part of it. But just as important are the social and economic sides of things. How a company treats its people and how it acts responsibly from a financial perspective.
When you look at these three pillars, you can see exactly where the Bravo Tech story fits in. It's all about those first two, the social and the economic. Protecting workers' rights, ensuring fair wages. Their campaign was a demand for these ideas to be real, not just words printed in a corporate handbook somewhere. I think this is the real game changer here. In this story, social media, a tool that's usually used to sell us stuff, was completely flipped on its head. It became a tool for justice, a platform that allowed workers to reach across the globe, connect directly with us, and hold some of the biggest companies in the world accountable. So in the end, that small tag was so much more than a cry for help. It was a powerful reminder that the supply chain isn't some abstract idea. It's made up of real people. And it proves, without a doubt, that our choices and our voices have real power. The only question left is, how are we going to use it?